how many? Na, Katiha, in how many ways? Kalita, obey. Gunehisha, undesirable of them. Jata, generated. Mai, unto me. Na, not. Karuna, mercy. Na, not. Trapa, shame. Na, not. Upashanti, desire to cease. Utsrija, is giving up. Etan, all these. Show them to go around. Show them to go around. Haribo. Ata, herewith. Yadupate, O best of the Yadu dynasty. Sampratam, now. Lababudi, having awakened intelligence. Hare Krishna. Having awoken. Tvam, you. Ayata, approached. Sharanam, who are the shelter. Abhayam, fearless. Mam, me. The young spa, please engage. Atmadashe, in your personal service. You want to read out the translation, Jayalanda? Oh, my Lord. Jai, what a beautiful prayer. That could be a turning point in someone's life. Think what of that prayer. Put by Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. This verse is quoted in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 3.235. When we chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, we are saying, Hare, O energy of the Lord, O my Lord. In this way we are simply addressing the Lord in the spiritual potency, represented as Radha Krishna Sitaram or Lakshmi Narayan. The devotee always prays to the Lord and his internal energy console so that he may engage in the transcendental loving service. When the conditioned soul attains his real spiritual energy and fully surrenders unto the Lord's lotus feet, he tries to engage in the Lord's service. This is the real constitutional position of the living entity. Om Ajnana Shagananyana Shalakaya Chaksharan Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhastam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Swapadantikam Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shivasadi Gaura Bhattarinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Jai, Hari Bol. So we say the mantra, and then we have to mean the mantra. So we can have 100 people all say Hare Krishna, and there's 100 different meanings. Some are saying, Hare Krishna, when's prasadam? Some are saying, Hare Krishna, where's the money? And some are saying, Hare Krishna, where's the service? So they're the ones that are saying it properly. So it's important not just to know how the mantra sounds, but also to know how the mantra feels. So we have Shravanam and Kirtanam. So we chant and we hear. First of all, we hear what the mantra is and we hear what the mantra does. Then we chant the mantra. And then are we able to remember Krishna whilst chanting the mantra? Or do we remember all our different material desires? So that's the challenge. Can you hear and chant, hear, and remember Krishna? If you can do all those three things, Jiva Goswami says, then you can chant steadily. But the tendency is for us to become inattentive when we chant. So when we're chanting, we're making a noise out of our mouth, and we're wandering off onto thinking about so many other things. So it's not actually chanting. So we may as well just be sitting there saying, money, 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 money. Or what film am I going to watch? That film was good. Bollywood, 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 Bollywood. You could be saying that. Or you could be saying, where's my pillow? I need to sleep. I'm tired. Could be saying that. Or you could be saying, life is so unfair. Life is so unfair. Or you could be saying, I am so clever. I am the best of everyone. Although you're saying the mantra, you're not feeling the mantra. So this is the feeling, and immediately Srila Prabhupada in the purport, he immediately relates this prayer to the mantra. Oh Hare, oh energy, oh my Lord. And we're begging for service. So sometimes you may be chanting, and then an opportunity for service comes up. And then we realize we didn't really want the service, you know. If you're chanting nicely, then you always have too much service to do. And because you do so much service, then you feel very tired afterwards. And then you find it hard to stay awake. Any questions or comments? Jayananda, have you got a question? And Prabhupada says, we're approaching Radha Krishna, Sita Rama, Lakshmi Narayan. So why does he say that? Why doesn't he just say, because everybody knows Hare refers to Radharani. Do you want to open the door? Because it is a bit hot. Yeah. Just have to remember to shut it. No, this door here. Yeah. Lift the bolt. Lift the bolt. And then just slide it along. That's the one. You have to purify your hands. You touch your socks. Any questions or comments on that? So why is it the Prabhupada says we are simply addressing Radha Krishna? Then he says Sita Ram, and then he says Lakshmi Narayan. Why do you think, Chaitanya? Not got any idea at all, no? Not even a hint. A hint of an idea. Why would Prabhupada say that? Why not just say Radha Krishna?
There's different levels of understanding approach. Start by different levels of relationship.
So what level do you have to be on to approach Radha Krishna?
Start from the beginning. Or you have to be very high possible.
What's the platform? It's like Srila Prabhupada said when he installed many Radha Krishna deities in ISKCON, and he said to the devotees, worship them as Lakshmi Narayan, which is Vaidhi. It's all very much rules and regulations. So at what point do we worship Radha Krishna? What level do you have to be on to worship Radha Krishna? It's called something, begins with an R. Begins with R. It comes after Nishta. First of all, you have to get fixed. Raganuga. You can only approach Radha and Krishna if you're spontaneous in your devotional service. So if you're following rules and regulations because you have to follow them, and not because you want to follow them, then you're still at the Vaidhi Bhakti platform. And then when you reach the stage of Asakti, which is after Ruchi, then You start becoming aware of your swarup, your constitutional position, and then Raganuga, then you're spontaneous. You don't have to follow the four regular principles. You want to follow the right. You don't have to chant Hare Krishna. You want to. You don't have to stay awake in class. You want to stay awake in class. So then you're at the stage where it's become spontaneous. And that's compared to a man running waist deep in water and suddenly coming out of the bank, onto the bank. So you can imagine if you're running waist deep in water, you're not going to get very far, even though you're trying so hard. But then if you're using all that effort and then you suddenly come off the water, you go so fast. So once you reach the stage of Ruchi and then Raganuga, then you go very fast. So the quicker you can get there, the better, Otherwise, you're still having to worship. So Lakshmi Narayan, and then after Lakshmi Narayan, Sita Ram. So Sita Ram, Lakshmi Narayan is all in reference, and then with Sita Ram, there's some friendliness, Sakya starts to come in. And then in Goloka, there's only intimacy. Nobody in Goloka knows that Krishna's God. They fight with Krishna and play with him and wrestle with him and climb on his shoulders. It's very intimate. But that intimacy has to be earned by going through the rules and the regulations and then coming to that stage. So if you're at the stage of Raganuga, then when you're chanting Hare Krishna, you're begging Radha and Krishna to engage in their service and assist in their service. Any questions or comments? You got a question, Jayananda? No?
I was thinking that in Krishna, there's sometimes different personalities that talk about they talk to Krishna and they say, we know you're a supreme person in God. This is in other places. In Gopi, some of the prophets, they address him as a supreme person in God sometimes. Because I heard that no one assumes Krishna as a God. When they talk,
Yeah, well, like Mother Yashoda there, she's looking into Krishna's mouth, and for a minute she realizes this is no ordinary boy. She can even see herself in the mouth of Krishna, along with all the universes. She can see everything, and she realizes this is the Supreme Personality of God. And then immediately Krishna just covers her with his Yoga Maya, and then she again engages in intimate pastime. I don't know. I was just reading the other day when Krishna proposed to his friends. He says, when Indra was raining down, Balaram said to Krishna, he said, you've got us into this mess now, because you told us not to worship Indra, and he's angry, and we're going to get completely washed away. And Krishna says, no, I've got a plan. I'm going to use Govardhan Hill as an umbrella. And all his friends start laughing because some of his friends have beat Krishna in wrestling, so they know he's weaker than them. So one of them says, okay, well, look, if you're strong enough to lift Govardhan Hill, you should be able to tie that tree into a knot. So Krishna takes the tree, he ties it into a knot, and then they say, okay. And then he goes under a tunnel, under Govardhan Hill, and he comes up in the middle, and then he lifts it. And so the kind of, it's confusing for the Brijbasis because they know him as a little cowherd boy who's weaker than they are. And at the same time, he's lifting the hill. So what the cowherd men do is they hold up the hill as well with their sticks. They think Krishna, he's going to run out of energy pretty soon, so we'll have to lift it for him. Any other questions or comments? It's a nice prayer, isn't it? I refuse. I am now one to give them up, and I refuse to obey the unwanted orders of those desires. See, sometimes we don't realize that we have a mind until we start trying to control the mind. We just think we are the mind. So whatever the mind says, we do it, and everything's fine. But when the mind says to do something and we say we don't want to do it, that's where the problem is. That's when you're going against what the mind wants. So, and with Vaidhi, all the rules and regulations, the mind wants to eat meat, the mind wants to have illicit sex, the mind wants to take intoxication, the mind wants to engage in gambling, and we're saying no, sorry, no. So we're having to control the mind. So that's when we realize we have a mind and that we're different from the mind. Anybody any examples of how they experienced that they were different from the mind?
Oftentimes something comes up, something in line with the mind, and then I just keep it, I just ignore it.
Like a phone, right? Like a phone going off, you just ignore it or put it on silent. If you can put the mind on silent, that's the best.
And then whatever the net just disappears.
Just go into the Haribol, Haribol, Haribol. Just go into the conservatory. It's not easy getting that one open. Sorry.
Whenever something comes up in mind, maybe we're chanting,
Hmm.
and there's an anxiety. Simply by ignoring this space of I think you understand how actually everyone is just on the one moment.
Yeah, the actual problem is not so much the mind, it's more the false ego. So Prabhupada explains that by chanting the Maha Mantra, we dissolve the false ego. So if the false ego is not there, then when the mind comes up with something, like he was really rude to me yesterday, I'm going to get a machine gun and I'll show him. So if you don't have, the false ego is what attaches you to identifying with that. So when that comes up, you think, yeah, we'll have to do something about it. So then the intelligence comes in. The intelligence is going to try and make a plan now, where to get a machine gun from. Can you get the bullets on eBay? All these different planning. But the real problem was the false ego. The false ego was irked, and then it brought the mind and the intelligence in. And the false ego is the most subtle. Isn't that right, Chaitanya? Most subtle, isn't it? False ego is the most subtle of all the elements. That's why the universe is covered by earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, but there's no ego. The ego just pervades the other elements. It's just your attitude and attachment to these other things. So if you don't have false ego, then when the mind says, I think we should get a machine gun, you say, I don't think so. And the mind says, okay, sorry about that. So it's very, very simple to control the mind if we've dissolved the false ego. And that's why we engage in acts of humility and prayer, because we want that. We want to proactively assert our real ego. The false ego is, I am God, I am the center, I am the most important, everything revolves around me. And the real ego is, I am nothing, and Krishna is the center, and everything revolves around Krishna. Hare Krishna! You've been cooking? Wow, fantastic. Did you fill it with Bhakti Shakti?
Service. Service is important.
Very nice. Jai. Where are you from?
UK.
Oh, okay. From Coventry, yeah? I have a friend who lives in Leamington Spa. Grab a seat. We're just having class. Nice, good. Yeah, I was pleased to see him in the kitchen today cooking. He looked very enthusiastic. You could see there was so much devotion going on. We've got a bucket full of water in the conservatory. If you want to just drop your phone into it, that's fine. You okay with that? Or at least switch it off anyway. So we're just talking about the false ego. When we get free of the false ego, then it's easy to control the mind, because we identify with the mind as ourself, and then it tricks us into doing so many things, and afterwards we think, why did I do that? And the reason we did it was because the mind tricked us into thinking it was us. So we followed what the mind wanted. Whereas if you don't follow what the mind wants, and you do what you know you should do, according to spiritual master and scriptures, then you feel very satisfied. Like for Janmashtami, it's very difficult to follow a full fast. And the mind's saying, come on, just have a drink, just eat this mango. Nobody's looking, nobody will know. Krishna won't mind. He's God anyway. Just do it. It's going to be okay, you know. And you no. And then when it finally gets to midnight and you break the fast, then you feel so satisfied. I did this for Krishna. And Krishna lets you know that he's pleased. And then you feel very satisfied. I defeated the mind. I followed what Krishna wanted. So it's easier to do that if you don't have false ego. What's the best way to get rid of false ego, Jayananda Prabhu? And engaging in service. There's 3 types of false ego, actually. You can have false ego in the mode of ignorance. Not long now, only another 25 minutes. You got to go what? Oh, okay. So you can have false ego in the mode of ignorance, which is where you're just rude. And then you can have false ego in the mode of passion, where you're at the center of attention. And then you can have false ego in the mode of goodness, where you identify with the Brahman. So you could be thinking that if you have false ego in the mode of goodness, I'm doing pretty well, you know. You're certainly doing better than most people. But it won't free you from the repetition of birth and death. It's a step on the way. And because Krishna consciousness is a work in progress, anywhere along the way you can become satisfied. You can think, well, I can go to Swarga. If you chant Nama Parad, then you can get material benefits. You don't have to chant attentively. You just make a noise with a bag on your hand for 2 hours every day. And at least you can go. You can get your material desires fulfilled. That's Nama Parad. And then Nama Bas brings you to the gates of Vaikuntha. And then Shuddhanam allows you to enter in. So anywhere along the way, you can just decide, I'm okay with this, actually. Because you're doing a lot better than you would be doing. You were in distress, and now you've been relieved of distress. But to reach the stage of searching for the absolute truth, which is the stage that Krishna is especially fond of, you have to push through all these other stages. That means you need determination, you need good knowledge, sambandha, and then you need a guru who can check that you're doing the Abhidheya properly. Because you can have 100 people all with a Bhagavad Gita, and they all think they're following it properly. But if you don't have a guru, then it's just their mind's idea of what the Bhagavad Gita is saying, you know. And generally it's going to be made, you know, smoothed over in one way or another. And they think I'll save time by cutting a corner. But if you cut a corner, what do you end up with? 2 corners. And then you cut those corners. And then instead of trying to get free of the corner, you end up making a lot of corners. So you just slow the process down. So the better thing is not to cut the corner in the first place. Just accept that that corner is part of the process. And if I engage in the process nicely, then I'll be able to reach a stage where I'm experiencing taste and spontaneity in my devotional service. And then I'm bound for Goloka. Otherwise, I'm just going to go to Vaikuntha. Because you could think, well, I'm okay in Vaikuntha, that'll do for me. But it won't be the full potential that could be accessed if you had sufficient knowledge to understand. Just like you could go to a marketplace and people are selling jewelry. And at one time, they're doing a diamond now, it's lab grown. And a jeweler was telling me he's seeing girls walking around with diamonds on that would be worth like 40,000, 30,000 pounds. He says, there's no way they could afford that. It must be lab grown, because if it's lab grown, it's only a fifth of the price. So automatically, if something's cheap, then you know it can't be the real thing. So devotional service. Radha Krishna is like that. He is the highest. So therefore, it's the full purchase. And what Krishna wants is 100% consciousness. He wants your full consciousness. He wants you absorbed 24/7 in him. That's what he wants. He doesn't want your money or your second-hand car or whatever else you've got. He only wants your consciousness. It's the only thing he's interested in. It's the only thing that gives him pleasure. Is your consciousness absorbed in him. That's all he wants. And anything but that is false. It's a false ego, a false sense of who we are, what we're here for. Any other questions or comments? Shishi Kodinitai Maya Poshashi Ki Jai. Shri Tulsinath Maharaj Ki Jai. Shri Giridhari Lal Ki Jai. Shri Nrsimhadev Bhagavan Ki Jai. Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Ki Jai. So you've all come up from Coventry? Yeah? We have a saying, sent to Coventry. Have you heard of that? If you've been bound, you get sent to Coventry. Means nobody will speak to you anymore. So you're just here for today?
No, I'm here for 2 days.
Oh, good. Okay, great.
Wednesday.
Till Wednesday.
Thursday we-
Okay. So do you know all the nice places to visit? This
Really.
no. There's within 20 minutes. There's about 4 or 5 really nice ones, and then if you want to drive an hour, there's a place called Balloch, and Balloch is on the tip of Loch Lomond. It's absolutely beautiful. We were there the other day, and in this weather as well. There's a beautiful river that comes off Loch Lomond, and then from Balloch, you can just keep hopping up Loch Lomond. Loch Lomond's miles long, so you can go to all these places on the way. Take a good pair of binoculars. Take a nice camera. Any other questions or comments? We do a Sangha on Thursday nights. It's a Japa Sangha for an hour between 7 and 8. And all the devotees get together and we talk about chanting and how we can improve our chanting. Because the funny thing about chanting is you can be chanting for years, but not actually be chanting, but think you're chanting. Any questions?
How can we be observing Krishna and also living in this world?
How can we be
100% observing Krishna
absorbed in Krishna
through the material world?
and be in the material world? We don't live in the material world when we're 100% absorbed in Krishna. Like when Srila Prabhupada was walking with the devotees, there's 2 occasions I know of where they would look back and there was all the footsteps of the devotees, but there was no footsteps of Prabhupada. Once was on the grass and once was on the sand. So Prabhupada was in the material world, but not of the material world. So when you're 100% absorbed, there's Nitya Siddha and there's Sadhana Siddha. So they're both the same. Once you achieve perfection through sadhana, then you're the same as a Nitya Siddha. And then you're in the material world, but you're no longer, you're just 100% absorbed in Krishna. Everything reminds you of Krishna. Because this material energy is also Krishna. So it reminds you of Krishna. Nothing makes you... When you're chanting Shravanam and Kirtanam, they're the first things we have to get. We start chanting the mantra properly. We're managing to stay awake, which is a major breakthrough for a lot of us. We managed to do that, so that's great. But then the Vishnu Smaranam, the ability to train the mind to just keep pulling it back. How long does it take when you're chanting and your mind wanders? How long does it wander before you bring it back? Because it will definitely wander, but as you're chanting, as soon as it wanders, immediately straight back. And if you can keep that up for about 12 rounds, eventually after 12 rounds, you break into this clearing where the mind's not going anywhere, the mind's actually sticking. You're not having to remind it again. It's just absorbed now. It's connected to the holy name. And then those last 4 rounds are the best. They go in grants. Grant is 4 rounds. So 1 grant and then 1 grant 4 rounds, and then 4 times that, 16 rounds. And then 4 times that, 64 rounds. And then 3 times that, which is 192 rounds. That's the most you can do. Otherwise you go into the next day. But at least 16, 4 grants of rounds. And then you break through these different barriers. First 4 rounds are the most difficult. The mind is everywhere. Next 4 rounds, you have to be determined. And then 8 to 12, you're starting to come through now. The modes of nature are starting to fall away. And then the 12th round, you're starting to go into this situation where the mind is just settling down on the holy name. But it means, to get to that stage, it means you have to be determined and push for an hour and 20 minutes, an hour and a half, and then you'll break through. But if you don't do that, it's like, they have these sweets and inside they have honey lockets. So you suck them, and then after a while the honey comes out. But you can't just put them in and get the honey straight away. So the holy name is like this. It's in the mouth, and you're chanting, and then suddenly 12 rounds. That's what I'm looking for. That's when the honey comes to the taste starts to, oh yeah. And then obviously you want to chant more after that. If you find yourself wanting to chant more rounds after 16, then it means your rounds were good. And if you're so happy to get that bead bag off, then it means the rounds weren't that good, you know. Same with everything, Sankirtan. If you finish Sankirtan and you wish you could do another hour, then it means your Sankirtan was good, whatever the result. Same with all service, whether you're serving the deities or you're cooking. If at the end of it, the result is that you wish you could have done more, then that's the good result, because it means you're getting a taste. But if it's too much and it's all overwhelming and you wish you could do less, then that means that you're not experiencing a taste, because the nature of a taste is that you always want more of a taste. When the honey taste comes in, then you wish that you had a bigger sweet in your mouth so you could have that honey taste longer, you know. So that's a symptom of someone that's experiencing taste, that there's not enough hours in the day for them to do it. Or was that yours? Any last questions or comments? Everyone good with that? Okay, thank you. Yes, Guru Ki. Srila Prabhupada Ki. Nitai Gaura Premanandi. Haribo. So it's a bit early class.